A stormy Senate hearing unfolded as Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. found himself in the hot seat, facing intense scrutiny from both sides of the aisle. This bold confrontation highlighted the deepening divide over vaccines, with Kennedy's leadership under fire for a series of controversial decisions. Surprisingly, it wasn't just the Democrats calling for Kennedy's resignation. Republicans, too, were voicing their disapproval. The legacy of President Donald Trump's Operation Warp Speed, which rapidly delivered a safe COVID vaccine to the masses, saving countless lives, became a focal point of contention. Senators grilled Kennedy on his stance towards vaccines and mRNA technology, questioning the stark contrast between his current policies and the success of Operation Warp Speed. But here's where it gets controversial. Under Kennedy's watch, the health agency slashed substantial funding for mRNA technology research, potentially hindering advancements in future vaccines. Moreover, the Food and Drug Administration imposed restrictions on COVID shots, limiting access to only those at high risk of severe COVID complications or above the age of 65. These actions sparked outrage among medical professionals, including the American Association of Pediatrics and the American Medical Association, who argued that these moves effectively denied people access to vaccines. And this is the part most people miss. During his confirmation process, Kennedy had assured Senator Bill Cassidy, a Louisiana Republican and physician, that he wouldn't hinder Americans' access to vaccines. However, Cassidy now accuses Kennedy of breaking his promise, citing the dismissal of the entire 17-member advisory panel on immunization practices at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC. Cassidy contends that Kennedy replaced the panel with individuals harboring unscientific vaccine skepticism and potential conflicts of interest, involving lawsuits against vaccine manufacturers. The hearing took a dramatic turn when another Republican physician, Dr. John Barrasso of Wyoming, aligned with Democrats in criticizing Kennedy for undermining vaccine confidence. Barrasso expressed grave concerns that Kennedy's actions could jeopardize the safety and efficacy of established vaccines, like measles and hepatitis B, potentially reversing decades of progress in public health. Amidst the heated debate, Kennedy fervently defended his decisions, asserting that previous administrations had relied on flawed data. He justified the sweeping changes within the CDC and other health agencies as necessary steps to restore their credibility as global leaders in public health. Despite the turmoil, Kennedy claimed widespread support from scientists and doctors across the nation. The controversy surrounding the CDC leadership change added fuel to the fire. Kennedy dismissed newly appointed CDC chief Susan Monterez, claiming she was dishonest about her departure. When questioned by Senator Elizabeth Warren, Kennedy revealed a bizarre exchange with Monterez, stating, "I asked her if she was trustworthy and she said no." Republican allies of the Trump administration, such as Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, leaped to Kennedy's defense. Labeling the aggressive questioning as abusive, they praised Kennedy for his efforts to overhaul health agencies despite the uproar. Kennedy's tumultuous 7.5-month tenure as health secretary has stirred chaos in the realms of science and health. His radical restructuring involved massive layoffs across federal health and science agencies, from the FDA to the CDC to the National Institutes of Health. Democratic senators were incensed by these moves, accusing Kennedy of distorting data to serve his political agenda. The committee's top Democrat, Senator Ron Wyden, accused Kennedy of making it unnecessarily difficult for children to receive vaccines, predicting dire consequences. Senator Warren pressed Kennedy to honor his pledge not to restrict vaccine access, highlighting his recent reclassification of the COVID vaccine, which she argued contradicted his commitment. In response, Kennedy maintained that everyone could still obtain vaccines for free, including those on Medicare and Medicaid. However, his inconsistent statements have sown confusion among patients, doctors, and insurers. Kennedy wavered on the widely accepted notion that the COVID vaccine saved millions of lives, suggesting that long-established vaccines might still pose unknown risks. Kennedy attempted to clarify his position, stating, "Saying I'm anti-vaccine is akin to saying I'm anti-medicine. It doesn't mean I'm against vaccines. It simply means I advocate for science." Yet this explanation failed to appease the Democratic senators present, with several demanding Kennedy's resignation throughout the hearing.